Hello everyone, welcome back to our Maya 2018 tutorial series on our Catapult project. This is where we left off in our last project. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start out by creating a new piece of geometry. This is going to be for the plank. That's going to be what our catapult arm is going to be on. And we'll use that same piece of wood a little bit later on as well to create the beams we're going to need for our winch. So I'm going to start by just creating a cube. And I'll go ahead and call this one mesh. We'll call it plywood. So we're using a different texture. Okay, I'm going to scale this one down, scale it up, bring it forward, scale it down a little more so it's about like so. I just want to be able to sit on this with just a little bit of overhang. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, so now I want to bevel the top edges and bottom edges again, just like I did on these ones down here. So I'm going to go to edge mode. I'm going to select everything. Then I'm going to hold down Control and do an inverse selection. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to, from my bevel tool, and I'm going to set the fraction to, let's say, 0.2. And we'll put segments at 2. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay out the UVs for it. So I'm going to go to UV and automatic. Okay. Okay, UVs are created. Now I can go ahead and attach in my existing shader that has my texture on there. So I'll hold down right mouse button on top of the object, go to assign existing material, and go to Catapult Texture Lambert. Seems like that one didn't quite attach. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my split screen. So I'll click on this icon here. I'm going to open up my UV texture editor. Turn on shell shading. And now I can go to UV shell mode. And I'm going to drag all of them out of here to begin with. Let's start out with this top one here. And I'll bring it down here. And I'm going to scale it up. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to grab the next shell. Bring it over here. Okay, looks like this shell is not facing the right way, so I'm going to rotate it. And probably end up having to scale it down to about like this, since it's, you can tell that's, otherwise it's getting too much texture information for such a small area. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on. So we're going to do the other side as well. And I can already tell that it's the same kind of deal as this one. So I'll just rotate this one again, just like the other one, where it's on its side. And I'll actually, let's go ahead and do this a little more perfectly. So I'll go to modify and I'll just go to cycle. Okay, seems like those ones came undone for some reason. Let's just try something else. We'll do, let's see here, where's the rotate? There it is, rotate. Okay. For some reason it's not wanting to work. Okay, well, then I'll just go ahead and manually do it. Trying to make functions work, but for some reason they're misbehaving, so I can just Go ahead and manually do it. It's not a big deal. Okay. That's good. All right, we just got to do, imagine this one for bottom. Yep. Okay, so same thing. I'll just go ahead and bring this one over here, scale it up, and that's good. Paste in the same way. And we're going to do this one too. And that's good. And we'll do one last one over here. Okay. That's good enough. Close down the UV texture editor for now. And we got our first piece of plywood. Okay, go ahead and settle this guy down on top of this one. That's good. I'll scale it down just a little bit more. Okay. All right, so now I just need to create these back planks. I'm just going to grab this guy here and duplicate it. Just move it back over here. And I just hit Control D for duplicate. I'm going to use my scale tool now. I'm just going to scale this down to where it's more like a piece of plywood or a 2x4 now. But of the same texture size. Okay. And I'll rename this one. Let's call it oh, I guess I can't do that. Never mind. Got all that. Okay. There we go. 2x4. You can name it whatever you want. Just name it something descriptive so it isn't poly 1. Okay, so I'm just going to duplicate, make one more. And then I'm going to duplicate this one. Then I'm going to make it rotated 90 degrees in the Y. Okay, just move it off to the side over here. I'm not going to put it on the other side because what we're going to use is we're going to be using hierarchy to mirror everything over. And hierarchy is going to be handled through groups. That's how the mirroring is going to be working. So I'm not going to put this on this other side. We're just going to be patient. It'll come here in just a little bit. Instead, we're going to now proceed into our next piece. We're going to create some screw heads to decorate the outside of our catapult. So to do that, we're going to get to learn a new tool called a Boolean. So we're going to start out by creating a sphere. Okay. Bring this over here. And we're going to create a cube. Okay. So we can use one object, the Boolean, to cut through another object. So I can take this cube, scale it down in the X, scale it out in the Z, and basically what will happen is wherever this is at, it will cut right through this. And let's see here. Make sure that I'm centered. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. So cutting object, we're going to select the base object, then the cutting object, and then underneath the mesh, the top one here says Booleans, and there's one that says union, difference, and intersection. Union will combine the two different objects and make them into one object. Difference will use one object to cut through the other, which is the one we're going to use, and there's intersection will just take the two objects and leave behind whatever is the intersecting portions of those two objects. So again, we're going to use difference. So let's go ahead and click on this guy. And you see how it just punches right through our mesh, which is pretty cool. This is like the look of what can be a flat head screw, right? You could even take this and let's say you wanted to duplicate it, and then we can rotate it 90 degrees, and then combine these two objects Click history, and now select object and then cutter object, and then we can run the booleans again, and this, oops. I must have messed something up. Try it from that way. I know this is possible. For some reason, I'm running into a bug. I did this earlier, but we'll just stick with the plan. We'll go with this guy here. So subject, and then the cutting object, and we'll go to mesh, booleans, and difference. So don't need to get too crafty on the fly. Okay, so we're going to now delete off the bottom half here. That'll leave us with top of the screw head. Okay, so from here we just need to go through and do the same process we did with the other objects. So we're going to go ahead and lay out some UVs. Go to UV automatic. Okay, I'm going to assign this to that same texture everything else is assigned to. So right mouse button on here, assign existing material and catapult texture. Okay, there we go. Now all we got to do is go into the UV texture editor and lay out the UVs properly. So panels, panel, UV editor. Okay, there we are. Now, I know that there's no bottom. So this is a lot like our sky dome. I can stitch all this together as long as it doesn't stitch these bits here, because these are the end balance. I don't need those to be part of it. It'll just make it to where the textile density is all wrong if I include these in it. So I'll just go to edge mode. I'll select all the edges, minus these edges. And I'll go to cut and sew. Okay, so now everything's stitched together except for these pieces here, which is what I want. So I'm now going to go to UV shell mode, and I'll click on the UV shell, and I'll hit Control U, which will relax the UVs. Okay, that's good. And now I can scale this down and just fit it inside here. Okay, and I'll take these guys and I'll put them in as well. And it doesn't matter if they overlap because they can share that same texture information. Okay, so there we go. That looks pretty good for a screw head. Okay, so now I'm going to scale this down. It's important that you're putting these screw heads on the same side as this one plank over here, because we're going to mirror everything over to the other side. So we don't want the screw heads to be on the left side at all. We want them all to be on this right side. So when we mirror, it'll mirror everything over. And we won't have duplicates being flipped back over to the right side. Okay, so I'm going to put one there. And I'll duplicate it and make another one. Put it over here. I'll just rotate it a little bit so it looks like they're exact duplicates, like they're actually screwed in. Okay, and I'll duplicate this one, bring this one back. And one more time. And again, I'll just rotate this one a little bit. Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to leave this one alone for now. I'm going to probably end up adding screw heads later, but I'm going to create a bracket to put on here. So I don't want the screw heads on there until I have the brackets in place. Okay, so speaking of brackets, let's just go ahead and dive in and create that as well. So to create a bracket, we're going to start by creating a cube. So we're going to drop the cube into our scene. There it is. And we're just going to do a series of extrusions to create this bracket. So I'm going to hit R for scale, just to kind of bring the length of this out a little bit. And we'll go to face mode. So right mouse button on the object, go to face, select the two end faces, one on each side. Okay, that's all it's selected, just those two faces. Now I'll go ahead and hit extrude. Okay, and then with the blue arrow, the Z-axis, I'm just going to pull the geometry out about this far. So let's say a square or a cube. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the bottom two faces now, which will change my extrude direction. And I'm going to hit extrude again. Okay. Like so. And again, I'm going to extrude one more time so I can have this extra bit of geometry on the bottom so I can create some feet. So hit G for a repeat last command, which will let me extrude some more. And we'll go about down that far. Okay. Getting a little bit low here, so I'm going to go ahead and move this up a little bit. I'll have some space to work. I'm going to go to face mode. I'm going to select these exterior faces created from the extrusions. And I'm going to just extrude this out. So kind of give me like this horseshoe kind of look, I guess. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call this mesh bracket. Okay, I'll delete the history on this guy. Okay, so we have our bracket. So all I need to do now is to do the same thing I did to everything else, which is attach that shader in there, lay out the UVs, and or project the UVs, then lay them out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start out by going to assign existing material, Lambert. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the panels, panel, and UV editor. Okay, so go ahead and select the object, go to UV and automatic. Okay, there we go. So for this one, I'm actually going to put all the UVs inside the metal texture. I think that's where I want these all to be this time. In the past, I've done it in other places, but it'll be faster to put them in the metal. That way I don't have to deal with making sure that all the wood grains are facing the right direction. If you choose to use the wood, you will have to be conscientious of that, so that way it looks accurate. That means you have to rotate the UVs to make it look like the grains are all running the right direction. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to go to move and sew, move and sew, move and sew. I'm just going to go all the way around the outside. And let's go ahead and start on the other side. So that's the way we're not. Let's keep going. Just hitting G, repeat last command, so this will all sew together. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, even though it's too long, and then just rotate it on its side, fit it in here, and then also go to edge mode and I'm going to cut right here. Go to cut, UV shell mode again, and I'm going to bring this back in here like so. And then I'm going to cut this part here too. Okay, and then I'll just bring this last bit here. So that way it goes around the outside. You can see that it maintains that same uniform metal texture. Okay, so we're done with the UV texture again, editor again. So we'll go ahead and close this out. And we'll go ahead and delete the history as well. Okay. So where are the brackets going to be on this? Well, there's going to be 2 over here, 2 over here, and then 2 on the bottom of each side to hold the axles in place. So, and there's going to be 1 on each side for the stakes. So let's just go ahead and start out by creating a couple of the ones I know. We'll kind of add them in as we need them. So I'm going to start by scaling this down quite a bit. Like that. Okay. I'll probably end up adjusting this a little bit later on, but this is okay for now. I'll hit Control D. And I'll move this one back here. Okay. Control D again. This will be the bottom brackets for the axles. Okay, so I can see it's rotating the X. It means I'm just going to put 180 here, and they'll be right there in the bottom. Okay. Again, I'll duplicate that one, bring it over here. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to flip it over on its side here, so it looks like another -90 to the Z. There we go. This is just going to be a plate. These are all placeholders. We're going to have to adjust all these to fit the objects we're putting through them, but just for now, this is fine. And this one here is not too far forward. Okay, we're getting there, guys. So let's go ahead and also add some of these screws on the end of our brackets. Make sure you keep rotating your view to make sure that it's going to actually be on your bracket. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate these two and bring them over here. Okay, those are good. And then I'm going to duplicate them again. I'm just going to bring them down over here. Well, now I'm going to use the y-axis scale to flip these two over. So I'm just going over to where it says scale y. And I'll just put in a negative value in front of the scale y. There we go. Now they're upside down. Spin in place. That's good. Now I'm going to duplicate this and move these in place over here. Okay, last one. Hit Control D. This is going to be for the side ones. Okay, this one I'm going to actually have to manually rotate. Rotate them. So, oops. So manually rotate and mess those guys up. Let's go ahead and just do it this way. Do them one at a time. I was getting a little overzealous. Okay. There we go. All right, so we're at about 22 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the last step, and then we're going to go ahead and end this lesson here. So the last step is to mirror everything over, and we're going to do this at a couple different points throughout the project. So this is going to be the first one. So we're going to select everything on this side, like so, and I'm going to deselect the central pieces. So this one here and this beam that's already existing there. Okay. So the important thing to note is that the manipulator tool is right here, not at the origin. So when I hit Control G, you can see now the group created, and the group is at the origin, and so it's the manipulator. Okay, so I'm going to call this one GRP screw and bracket. And they're on the right side, so I'll hit R. Okay. And I'm going to hit Control D, which will duplicate that group. And this time I want to call this one L instead of R. Okay, so the axis we're trying to flip it over is the one that's highlighted in yellow. So if you built it in the x-axis, which mine's facing down the z, but I need to flip over the x, then this is the direction you'll have to go. Now, if this is red and this is blue and this is the direction you need to go, it means you built it in the opposite axis as I did, which is fine. Just make sure you're conscientious of that. And that way, when you flip the scales on it, it will flip it in the right direction. So if you look inside the outliner, you can see that all of our parts are actually inside here, right? Good. So now I'm going to mirror them over. And so to do so, I'm just going to go to where it says scale X and put a -1 here. Okay, now they're flipped over in the correct direction. And it appeared, I caught this as I was opening these up, that apparently I have some things in here that are unnamed. Somehow these screws got away from me. I didn't name those. I thought I had. There is a function inside of Maya. So we go over to modify, and let's see here, search and replace names. That's what I want to do. I'm going to look for P sphere. And we'll replace it with screw. We'll go selected for now. Hierarchy. There we go. Selected was the group, so it wasn't giving any of his children. So since I went with hierarchy, it got all of them. So we can go ahead and do this as well with this guy over here. I believe this is also in a piece, so we'll just get rid of both these guys. Apparently, okay, so I have to delete some history. Select all this. Delete history. There we go. Okay, so same thing here though. I'll have to go here, go to search and replace. There we go. Delete history. Okay. There we go. Everything's named properly. Okay, and we have our mirrored parts. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're going to go ahead and create the axle, and we'll create some stakes that will go in here, and we'll start working on the wheels as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Oh, before I go, make sure you guys save. So save scene as, call this one part 2. Save as. Okay. All right, now we can stop. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.